Yosef imo, ki hashpia hishpia et bnei Yisrael lemor. Hakod yifkod Elohim etchem, v'alitem et asmotai mizeh itchem. Moses took Joseph's bones with him, for he had adjured the sons of Israel, saying, God will surely remember you, and he shall bring up my bones from here with you. In this pasuk from the Parsha Shavua, Moshe fulfills the request made by Yosef on his deathbed, that when the Israelites were to leave the land of Egypt, they should take along with them his bones, so that he could be buried in the chosen land. The doubling of the biblical phrase, often understood as providing emphasis, is taken up here by the Mechilta. Promise, do promise. Hashpia, hishpia. The Midrash notes has a deeper meaning. It implies that the promise was made not just for the children of Israel at the time of Yetziat Mitzrayim. The promise was laid on the shoulders of their children as well, and perhaps by extension, for each future generation. The Dor Hamidbar carried Yosef's bones for 40 years through the wilderness, but each subsequent generation of Jews bear this responsibility to carry Atzmot Yosef as well. What does this mean? What does it mean to say that we, thousands of years later, carry with us the bones of Yosef? When we landed first in Germany and then in Poland, we as a grade prepared ourselves to digest the harsh, emotional stories that define the horrifying history which only decades ago reshaped Jewish life throughout the entire world. For each and every one of us, this trip has its own meaning, its own implications. For many, it's a matter of walking in the footsteps of people we've met, survivors we've interviewed, family members we've come to know only through pictures and fading memories. For others among us, this journey brings to life the stories of our very own family members, people we have grown very close to during our lifetime. For generations, this was the place that my family called home. The synagogue in which we are standing is the same shul in which my great-grandfather and my great-great-grandfather davened on Shabbat and Yom Tov. The balconies in the other shul next door right above us, my grandmother, the only lasting survivor of her entire family, stood with her mother and her sisters as they looked down on the men's section during the high holidays. Right here, where the bima once stood, in the Kisei Eliyahu, Elijah's chair, my grandmother's brother, Hirsch, for whom I am named, received his name at his bris. It is here that he was called to the Torah as a bar mitzvah. The family business was in the town square located down the road, but only a bit further are the grounds on which their home once stood. That was the place where they lit their Shabbat candles, where they made their Kiddush, where they welcomed their guests on Jewish holidays. This is not just any synagogue in the middle of Poland. It's not just another town overrun by the Germans during the war. This place brings to life the stories that my grandmother struggles through tears to tell. This town and my grandmother are the only remaining connections that I have to my family. A family that was like so many others, erased from history. Standing where I am right now, literally in the footsteps of my ancestors, I have come to understand why we too carry Atzmot Yosef. In many ways, the life of Yosef represents the history of the Jewish people in miniature. Yosef faced abandonment and enslavement, but he also came to know freedom and liberty. Because of the life that he lived, Yosef represents hope and strength for the Jewish people. His life and his bones serve as a reminder that no matter how tough the times, our people will always live and survive to the end. This is why Bnei Yisrael carried his bones at the front of the camp as they departed from Egypt. It's why generations of Jews have carried them, and it is why we symbolically carry them as well. Through the Inquisition and the pogroms during times of prosecution and times of expulsions, and into the gas chambers, our people have carried these bones, even as their ashes ascended in the chimneys of death. Hashpea hishpia, a promise that gave them hope and strength to survive through those challenges, which tested their faith and their endurance. 600,000 people struggled through the wilderness, and 6 million of our people did not survive the atrocities of the Holocaust. 600,000 went up out of Egypt carrying the bones of Yosef. The bones of 6 million lay literally under our feet. Yet here we stand. The hope and the strength which has defined our collective survival as a people for thousands of years. We, a group of Jewish teenagers, gathered here in this synagogue, a synagogue that was never supposed to see the face of a Jew ever again. We are here, and with us the bones of Yosef. We are the hope and the strength of the Jewish people. It is us who carry the responsibility of ensuring the future of this nation. 4 years ago, I stood with my grandmother in Plaszow, the work and death camp where she was forced to labor at the command of the Nazis. Standing in the remnants of that camp along her side, she turned to my brother, my sisters, and me, and told us that almost 70 years later, she would have never believed that one day she would be standing together with her grandchildren on that soil. It is our responsibility to carry the bones. It's our responsibility to tell the story, to visit the camps, to preserve our tradition, to fulfill the promise. We are the hope and the strength of the Jewish people. We say every morning on our own Amidas the words, Shema Kolinu Adonai Eloheinu. God, hear our prayers. And as I stand here literally in the footsteps of my ancestors, I cannot think of a more appropriate tefillah. Shema Kolinu Adonai Eloheinu. Hear our prayers, God, the voices of young and old, as we strive to keep fresh in our minds the memory of those that history tried to erase from this world. It is not a painless task as the pages of history turn faster and faster. Each leaf, another layer of obscurity, the individual lives of countless men, women, and children relegated to notes in the margin. Help us, O God, to keep alive the flames of their souls, even as the chambers of death and the slaughterhouses become meadows and picnic grounds. As voiceless memorials receive tour buses of the morbidly curious and breed an even deeper and darker silence. Help us to remember what was once the brilliant glow of thousands upon thousands of communities, each with their own narrative, with their own Talmidei Chachamim, with their own writers and carpenters and milkmen and seamstress and chicken farmers and jewelers and silver and goldsmiths. Help us to faithfully bear them in mind even as their synagogues lay in ruins. Their gravestones to this day lay underfoot, a durable foundation for the steps that lead into our homes. Our homes, where our silverware and our furniture and our fine dishes and our holy candlesticks live, silent captives awaiting redemption. We, the members of this community, the remnants and the biological and spiritual descendants of a generation that was to have been the very last, we are here to remember. We remember together because our very presence is an act of defiance in the face of those who would seek to deny history. We are here together because we understand that we are the faithful guardians of 6 million precious souls. We are here together because we know that each and every story and storyteller contains the lessons that define our collective survival as a people. Give us the strength, God, through acts of remembrance, to deny the deniers, to enlighten the ignorant, to hold accountable those who would wish to remain in the shadows, to confer dignity on anonymous ashes, to bring to life the lists and lists of names. Dear God, Zochar Yitzurav, this day our prayers are in the form of our voices and in the shapes of flickering flames of remembrance. God, hear our prayers. Give us the strength and the spiritual fortitude to ensure that the lessons of the Shoah are not lost in this world. Give us the courage to always speak out against injustice and inequality. Bless us with the opportunity to embrace the miracle that is Eretz Yisrael. Ribono Shel Olam, Shomei Tefillah, Lord of hosts, hear our prayers. Boker Tov.
Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai, 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 Od Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu Chai, Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. Or Avinu, Or Avinu, Or Avinu 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 Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai.
Okay.
Press this with your finger. Press that.
All right.
Press it.
Okay, guys.
Press it.
We don't need to say.
So it turns it off.